We recently asked you, the listener, to send in your suggestions for an opener to the show, and we have an absolute belter today.
Before we begin today's episode, I, Andy Baddeley, and my co-hosts, Rick Kelsey and Sarah Hartley, are to issue a formal apology. We have previously acted in a derogatory manner to persons who don sock and shoe prior to second shoe. We have labelled them psychopaths, causing immeasurable pain to the global sock shoe community, of whom there are dozens, and many of whom were already subject to stigmatisation prior to said comments.
We are sorry. As reparations, the Running Channel will hang the official sock shoe flag, which proudly depicts a bare foot alongside a fully shoed foot. This will be hung in the Running Channel office until which time Rick has completed a full marathon.
Thank you to Luke Norman from Australia. Now, let's do the show.
Producer Owen's got something for us. What's going on? Lovely stuff.
Happy birthday, Sarah.
Owen.
We are recording on Sarah's 27th birthday.
I know.
Last week, when you gave your age, did you give your future age or your current age?
I gave both. Me and Andy gave both.
Yeah, for audio listeners, Sarah has been given a beautiful tiara that says "It's my birthday" and a lovely rosette, like you've done Crofts.
Put it on.
You've achieved 27 years.
You'd love to do Crofts as well, wouldn't you?
I would be absolutely buzzing. Yeah, put it in the set.
Oh, there we go.
Right, the flag is up. Hang on, let me put my rosette on. Yeah, I know, but it's also been your birthday, Andy, too.
Yes.
But you got away with not having to record on your birthday.
I did, yes. I instead was listening to the cricket.
Were you?
Yeah.
It's very sophisticated.
I love Test Match Special.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best bits of broadcasting
I
that
agree.
exists in the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think you have to be a certain age to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, I was making the kids listen to it in the car, and they were okay with it. So
okay.
I'm not loving it, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like 12 hours of solid chat about cricket and tea time and stuff. But then I played cricket in the garden and all sorts of stuff. But I've also been doing a bit of running.
Nice. How's the running going?
It's good. We promised that we'd give him a bit of stick on this show, didn't we? So Stevie from the Running Channel office was very excited to come and do an interval session with me on one of the hottest evenings of the week last week. So after last week's record, but a few days ago now. And I had 5 lots of 2 kilometres and trying to run quite quick. But he was giving it good chat in the office during the day.
He loves a good bit of chat to Stevie.
So the session was 5 times 2K.
Yeah.
Stevie did 1.5 times 2K.
And also my favourite part of this anecdote is, so you were alternating paces in this 2K as well.
Yeah.
So reps 1, 3 and 5 were at 340 minutes per kilometre. Yeah. And then reps 2 and 4 were 320.
Yes. And they were all hard, but there were 2 that were harder. Yeah.
So apparently Stevie did, part of the second rep and then kind of jogged it in a little bit. I mean, still running absolutely rapid, but jogged it in. And then apparently you ran back to him during the rest and went, I'd give this one a miss, mate, if I were you.
It was 28 degrees.
Really crushing his spirit.
28 degrees.
But you also tempted to be like, it's not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah.
I can hack it. You can't.
Yeah, I sort of, no, see, this has been slightly misrepresented. He actually said
Stevie
to me
came
that he was
back
thinking
crying.
about changing it.
Right.
And then my response was, yes, I think you should set this one out.
Right.
We had after the second...
Sit this one out. It's so patronising.
How did that go down?
This is an Olympian session, so unless you've been an Olympian,
No.
You won't be able to keep up with me.
No. I was very supportive.
And then do you know what Andy did? He took his top off and then just ran through Victoria Park.
I did not take my shirt off.
Did you drop your top?
I did not take my shirt off. No. I was fully clothed throughout. Although we did, after my second 2K effort, I happened to stop fairly close to, there's a bar / pub in Victoria Park, and
sounds nice.
I had 3 minutes recovery to go in, get a drink of water from the bar, and then head back out onto my third effort because I was really struggling how hot it was.
Yeah, there's a water fountain as well.
Yeah, I didn't stop at the right place though, so I couldn't get there in my recovery. And then a big shout out actually to the Ampthill Athletic Flyers, which are my local running club that I run with a lot of the guys from there. They all clubbed together and accompanied me on my long run this weekend.
Oh, nice.
In various different bits. So I promised them I'd give them a shout out.
Like a support team?
Yes. So Ian and James and co, thanks for the support. And Barry, before you shout at me for not name checking you. So I had a 80 minute, actually ended up being 85 minute long run, where it's 40 minutes easy and then 40 minutes tempo. So 40 minutes at my half marathon pace.
Yeah.
Or at, half marathon effort. And that was hot, but I started at 6:20 a.m. on Saturday.
Grim.
That's keen.
And I had two guys keep me company for the first 40 minutes. And then a horde of runners joined me at the allotted meeting point for me to then start my 40-minute tempo.
Oh, nice.
It's absolutely brilliant, yeah.
It's amazing.
I felt like a real buzz. I felt like this kind of whole... It was like back in the day when I had a training group that I would train with all the time.
Yeah.
And it was just so good and the time went so much more quickly.
That's keen getting up that early. I like it.
was
Have
so
you got
hot
a target race?
Yes, I have.
Does Sarah and I know
No,
what this
Sarah
is?
does. So yeah, in the middle of August, I'm planning to run the Newark half marathon
Exciting.
because it happens to be on the one weekend that I can make work with various logistical schedules, and that has a relatively flat course. So we'll give it a go, see what happens.
Here we come, Newark. Yeah.
So yeah, and then Sarah, you've had a tough few days of running.
Honestly, the last week of running, I think, has to be that I've never experienced such high highs and such low lows.
Oh.
But if you listened to the podcast last week, I was talking about the Stop When You Think You've Run a Marathon challenge.
Yeah.
It was obviously so hot. And just honestly look out for that video if you want to see me slowly lose my mind.
Oh, we can't give away too much, can we? You gave me a
No.
brilliant little synopsis this
was
morning when we came in.
Genuinely horrific.
Yeah.
But that was kind of sandwiched in between two incredible runs. I did another midweek league race with my running club. Shout out North Hearts. I always want to say North Herts.
Yeah.
North Hearts Road Runners. It was my club's turn to like put on the race.
Yeah.
And so we ran through a park in Stevenage.
Yeah.
And it was so good. It was so good. It was, I think, the same day that you did that workout with Stevie. So like really, really hot conditions in the evening.
So yeah, about 6 or 7 p.m. it was still 28.
Yeah, so
28,
we
29
didn't
degrees,
start till 7:45, so it was a little bit cooler. But I have been speaking to a sports psychologist who we are going to try and get on the podcast because I just find this fascinating.
Yeah.
On like race strategy, because I feel like I'm someone who loves the training, loves turning up, loves doing all of that, but then when it gets to a racing situation, I just completely lose all sense of self.
Yeah, and if anyone hasn't seen it, we did a video about kind of my old psychology notes on YouTube. So check it out. It was a tough day for me in the shoot, and then a tough watch back in the edit because there's a whole bunch of there where I'm admitting to stuff that didn't always go to plan, but then also some of the psychological strategies that I had in place that did help.
And it's so, I think, just as much as you work on the running and the actual paces and like all of that stuff, the psychology of racing can make such a difference. So I tried out not thinking about paces, not thinking about placing, not thinking about kind of any output goal that I wanted to have, and instead my goal for the race was just to be comfortable being uncomfortable and kind of work hard and like go with that kind of effort. And if unfortunately it didn't need to be 10k, the course was 9.26.
Oh, that's frustrating.
If it had been 10k, it would have been a 10k PB. So
I mean,
buzzing with that.
I'm so glad that you two have, had a bit of heat, been a bit tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit of
Does
sun.
this mean it's Rick's turn?
Oh yeah, Rick wants to talk about himself. But before we do that, I've got a question for you. Why are you wearing a watch on the other wrist this week?
Oh yeah. Are you trying to even
Is it because
out?
you had it's definitely, I know how vain you are. This is 100% because you've been wearing it a lot and gone, oh gosh, I've got a watch tan.
That's correct.
Yeah, so you're trying to even out the watch tan.
Yeah, I am.
Stop it.
I'm
Are you
evening it out.
evening it out?
Yeah, because I've got.
I feel like it's a badge of
quite
honour though.
defined. Yeah. I also switch it up a little bit because I get a bit of eczema underneath. So
Okay,
I go from
that's just,
that
okay,
really.
let's move on. We didn't need that.
That doused you in a big pile of water, didn't it?
You needed to be doused in a big pot of water last week, didn't you?
Yeah, should we talk about how's your week of running been? Rick?
Well, can we talk about the core? Can we talk about Rick's challenge?
So we sent you off to do some heat training, which involved, I beg, if you've never watched this podcast on YouTube, please today just go over to this section and take a look at the wonderful images of Rick's pink little face in the gym
On the hottest day of the year. Yeah.
Head to toe core suit.
Yeah, so you're wearing the core suit, right? This is it's effectively a full body. It looks like a hazmat suit, right?
Yeah,
that stops the heat.
It looks
from
like I
escaping.
went to the gym to remove asbestos.
But you were also testing the Core 2 thermosensor.
Yes.
And what that's doing is it's measuring your core temperature as well as your skin temperature and it's showing how your body's handling it. So how did you find testing it?
Yeah, so in the suit, all I wore underneath was a pair of boxers.
Lovely.
Right?
Stop it.
All I wore.
You didn't wear anything else?
Nothing. Pair of boxers. You are wet through in the suit. The only thing that's poking out is your face.
Yeah.
So firstly, going into the gym was quite interesting, getting in there. And it was the hottest day of the year, put it on, started warming up. So my skin temperature went from 28 Celsius to 33 Celsius.
Yeah.
And my core body temperature. This was fascinating because I'm not sure, unless you're a kid, you know what your core body temperature is.
Yeah, let's use one of those like in-ear thermometers.
In-ear thermometers, I'm always shoving it in the kids just to check they're all right.
Yeah.
Sounds weird. But mine.
Shoving it in the kids.
When they've got a snotty nose, you're checking, you just shove it in their ear. But my core body temperature is 37. Do you know what yours is? 37.0.
I think everyone's is very close to 37.
Yeah, I think they might vary a little bit. But I got it up to 38.
Yes.
In the space of 5K.
So we've got something interesting to digest here.
Yeah, we've got a sort of bone to pick with you. So the whole point of the Core 2 sensor is that's essentially, like what GPS is for speed or heart rate is for intensity. The Core 2 sensor allows you to do heat-based training, which has performance benefits, but to do it properly and to know that you've actually either worked hard enough or potentially worked too hard. No worries about you working too hard, was there? Let's be honest.
I was wet through.
I know, but
absolutely wet through.
So the sensor gives you lots of different data points. The two ones that I want to pick out are the heat strain index, so the HSI, and then also the heat training zone. So optimal
I was strained.
So we wanted you to be in zone 3.
Yes.
Which that's the kind of the heat training zone.
Did I hit
that's
4?
Where
If
you do multiple, then you're going to start to see the adaptations because what you're doing is active heat training. Didn't leave zone 1. Didn't leave zone 1.
And you got your skin temperature up to 33. I think we need to get to 34 to 36. And then your core temperature also kind of hadn't quite elevated enough to strain the body in a way that gives you that performance adaptation.
Well, I got performance adaptation, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Because I went and ran 5K in that suit, got very hot, wet through, came home, put the hood down, walked through centre of London with the hood down, people coming up to me asking me to price up a few jobs.
Like a painter and decorator.
Just ready to go.
And then when I got back, then that night I then went for a run just in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, and it felt so easy.
But imagine
because I had the heat adaptation.
Well, that's one of the things that the data showed as well, was that actually the reason it was low strain for you were running in the suit, you felt really hot, but actually you were able to regulate your temperature effectively, and that's what the sensor showed, so that you were staying in that zone 1 because sweating effectively was enough during that period.
So my body's clever. But is that because I've done, like a few people said this in the comments last week, a lot of passive heat training by spending so much time in the hot tub?
I mean, effectively, yes. I think it probably is.
So hot tubbing is good for runners?
No, I think you've just optimised your sense of being to never be that uncomfortable. To never really have
I think you're too lazy to push hard. Because
to just kiss the PB, never really strive.
The idea is that suit allows you to raise your temperature and achieve optimal heat training with less effort because, it's making you artificially hot. But you didn't run hard enough for that to happen. They said that...
Did it feel hard?
The data interpretation that we've seen shows that the effort that you got to right at the end of your effort is what you then should have done for about 40 minutes.
No one who saw me in the 30 minutes after I came out of that gym would say that boy has not been working hard. I literally look. I look like I've been swimming.
And it has been incredibly hot as well. So we've got a council that people look after their own safety. Obviously, heat training is aimed at a little bit in the same way as altitude training and various other training techniques. It's aimed at increasing your performance, but making sure you can do it correctly and kind of control your effort. Make sure that if you are going to try and do heat training, you do it at the right levels. That's what the Core 2 is aimed at achieving.
And I totally get the benefits. Say I was using that in the winter here in the UK, and I was going to Accra in Ghana to do a marathon there or a half marathon there. I totally get how my body would get acclimatized to those type of conditions by using the heat suit.
Yeah, and what's really interesting as well is that you might see, I feel like heat training is really kind of reaching a peak at the moment, and you might see people who are in the kind of last maybe 3 to 4 weeks before a race, that's when they'll do loads of this kind of active heat training. So if it is something that you're interested in, if you're preparing for a winter race or an autumn race, doesn't matter if the race itself is or isn't in hot conditions, because you can still get huge performance benefits. So if you are interested, then go and check out the Core 2 thermosensor.
That's it. Rick's challenge wrapped up, and this week it was sponsored by Core, so a big thank you to them.
And one of the things I was wearing, apart from my boxer shorts, was a set of running socks.
Oh, excellent segue. Should we talk about today's topic then?
We should.
Okay, so I would like to start to preface this with, Rick, how many years
Oh, God.
did you not wear
give me a
running
break. This is just hammering me at the moment.
It really is, isn't it? I'm kind of enjoying this today.
So we set him a physical challenge, and he didn't train hard enough. We told him all about the technical gear that he could wear, and he just wore cotton socks for like 20 years.
Socks, yeah. Anything else that you want to admit to? Do you know, so before
the sock thing has revolutionised my running.
Has it?
Yeah.
In what way?
So I wore cotton socks wrongly, just the wrong type of material to be wearing for running. I just didn't put any thought into it. That was it. It wasn't that.
Shock.
Yeah,
you not thinking.
I just didn't put any
That
thought.
is so unlike you.
Now I'm very conscious, and even put the left sock on the left foot. No, because the socks tell you.
Yeah,
I even put them on the correct foot.
With the little, where it has the little L.
Yeah.
Do you know there's
do that,
nothing?
or do you just let it
I
ride?
used to have a couple of
I'm
pairs of socks from a brand where they put the size of the socks on each one. So I was a large, so they both had L on them. Very confusing. Rick could have no chance.
Yeah,
just have both shoes on both socks on one foot.
I'm leading in synthetic materials. I'm polyester and nylon all the way. I've learnt my lesson. I'm in a good space now.
Yeah. Or merino wool, if you want a natural fibre.
Merino wool
is pretty good for.
What do you know about merino wool?
I know that it's naturally good at wicking sweat, keeps you cool. It's non-itch, all that sort of stuff. I think. Well, you put me on the spot there.
It's also got natural antibacterial properties,
which
is quite cool. So merino wool, you might see it loads in kind of hiking socks and like thicker socks as well, but you can get thinner versions. Also merino wool, great trail running socks as well. But I think the importance here is, if you have never considered your socks when it comes to running, and you are someone who suffers with blisters, or you suffer with like any kind of running or hot spots, or you can feel your sock in your shoe, then it might be time to consider, can I get a specialist pair of running socks? It doesn't have to break the bank. There are lots of different, from high street shops all the way up to kind of specialist sock only brands. There are lots of different options.
Yeah, and I would say that I have previously balked at the really expensive technical running socks. You don't have to get them, but you can spend 15 or 20 quid on a single pair of socks, which seems like a lot. But then if I think about how long the ones I've had have lasted, how many runs they have gone through without having holes or bare patches and without me getting blisters and stuff.
Pence per kilometre is pretty good.
Yeah. So you and I think you
get some good mileage out of them.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
That's a good point as well, though, because when was the last time you replaced your running socks?
I don't remember ever throwing out a pair of running socks, but then I've only been wearing running socks for, 2 years.
What, since the
2 yeast, 5 months, 3 weeks, and 1 day.
Is that since the podcast started?
Correct.
So the lifespan of a sock will obviously vary. You can see, like, if it has any extra padding or any little sections, you can see whether that like worn down.
Yeah.
But typically it is kind of 600 to 800 kilometres.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know there was a number
For
on
a
it.
lifespan of a sock.
I've never even thought. Mine all seem fine, but then I don't run perhaps as far. Although what I can't quite take seriously, Sarah, just to have a little segue, is that you're giving us the kind of stats about socks whilst you look like you've stepped straight out of some kind of pageant. Like I can't.
Because of my headgear.
Yeah, it keeps distracting me. It's because you've literally just made a speech about.
Am I wearing it the right way around?
It looks perfect.
Okay,
You've asked for world peace, and now we're going straight into.
And I will start by giving everyone a pair of running socks.
What I'm not sure on, though, is because I always feel like I want to have as much cushioning as possible and extra padding in kind of key areas, so heel toe, underfoot, and of course the thickness greatly influences thermoregulation. But
He says, of course, whilst he's reading it.
No.
Of course.
Wait.
Yeah.
Here's a thought I debuted earlier.
Oh my God, you two today are off on one. Thinner socks
we've
are more
aged.
breathable and natural. So I have this problem. I have problematic sweaty feet.
Oh, mate, we didn't need to know that.
No, but
That's an uncomfortable.
But I also want more padding because I want support. I want that cushioning for my knees.
I love the way you say cushioning.
Yeah.
Cushioning.
Cushioning.
I love cushioning.
I tell you, do you know what this is?
So what
'Cause
should I have?
find myself doing it sometimes with the kids. This is because we're both from the Northwest, Rick and I.
Right.
And I think it's because we've been down south a long time and that we've got like a weird hybrid. So I'll sometimes struggle with a U sound as well. Because I think growing up in the Northwest, you should say, like for everything, umbrella. Or like it's all
So
all
what would
the
it
U
have
size.
been?
I don't know, but I find myself sometimes like, how do I? This is
No, you're right.
Yeah.
You are right. You are correct. Do you have a problem with the word where?
No. No.
Because people always say that I say were.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Were. But,
You do say were.
so is that wrong?
Well, no,
Say,
not
look,
if
it's
you're
not
saying
wrong.
no, saying were as in the past participle of was of
No, is it as in
Of
were,
being.
as in destination?
Were for all
Were
that.
to.
no, yeah.
Yeah.
Were to.
So
Sorry,
I think that's
I think as long as
amalgamation
people can
of
understand
dialect.
what you're saying, then I think you're fine.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Thickness.
what if you've got sweaty feet
Yeah.
and you want that support,
Yeah.
but you know that thinner socks are more breathable and good for hot weather? What should you be wearing?
So I would choose the thickness of the sock, not based on heat, although you don't want really, really thick socks. But I think if anyone hasn't tried changing brands of socks or different thicknesses of socks or technical running socks, the single biggest thing it make a difference with is the fit of your shoes. Like just wearing two different pairs of socks for me can fundamentally change the way a pair of running shoes fits.
Yeah.
So I find that some brands, for example, fit a fraction bigger. So therefore I might want to wear thicker socks to give the same fit that I would normally have wearing thinner socks in a different brand.
Yeah.
So so I have one or two, maybe three different thicknesses of running socks in my box, depending on which particular pair of shoes I'm going to wear. For example, race shoes, like the fast carbon plate shoes in most brands come up slightly smaller or at least tighter because they're on a thinner last. Like
Do you have a separate
mold.
box for running socks compared to normal socks?
Actually, I don't. They're always just one box of socks.
Just one.
Really?
Yeah.
I've got two separate drawers.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Oh, maybe I need to rethink my wardrobe
What you could then
arrangement.
get is you could then get dividers, and then
Yeah.
you could have like thin socks, slightly thicker socks.
Yeah, that's
winter socks.
that is true.
You know, you can get waterproof socks as well.
No way.
Yeah, I really want to try them, but then if you have serial sweaty feet, then avoid.
It's
Avoid.
weird as well that I mean, obviously we come from the UK and sock sizes generally are done in European sizes where, it'd be like 42.
Yeah.
Whereas shoe sizes are not, which I've always found odd. But actually getting the right size sock for your foot and really narrowing it down. So if you are a 42, going 41 to 43, that's quite important and probably something we don't look at enough.
Yeah, because all of them are like ranges, and I definitely have some socks that I have like quite a few pairs of socks that I avoid because they fit a bit too tight. And one, the effort of putting them on, I can just never be bothered. But also two, I do feel like if it's really constricting your foot, then that can affect your running
If
as well.
they're so tight, you literally can't be bothered putting them on. Sarah, I think they need to go.
I
in
know,
the
I
bin.
think they need
Yeah.
to go. I know, but you know when you've like bought a pair of socks and you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
But then I find that if they're too tight, then they can be really tight across the front of your ankle, and then I'll get sore on the tendons there. If you've if you ever tied your shoelaces too tight,
yeah.
and then similarly, if they're tight, if you've got like crew socks on or whatever, and they're tight around your calf or your Achilles, I don't know. I don't know whether it actually makes any difference, but I don't like that feeling of constriction.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think actually switching to professional, proper running socks made of polyester and not wearing cotton is actually, there'll be a lot of people I imagine who listen to this show who've got athlete's foot. I used to have awful athlete's foot. I mentioned it before.
God.
But actually switching it
Rick, we're learning.
it's
Far
helped.
too much about
No,
you.
but it's helped. Like normally, I hardly get it at all now.
Hard.
But
This is
Still not
the
never.
world's
Have you
worst
got it right
Tinder
now?
profile for Rick Kelsey.
Should we just quickly touch
I
on?
imagine that bio. Rick Kelsey,
Athlete's foot.
runner. Occasionally have athlete's foot, but not as bad as I used to.
I feel like athlete's
Really
foot.
Very
feet.
sweaty.
Athlete's foot is
Do
still
spend a lot of time in a hot
It's still
tub.
stigmatized, isn't it? Athlete's foot. It's just the stigma around it.
What is it?
It's basically when you get
some kind of infection.
fungal infection in between your toes.
Great. Okay, moving swiftly on.
Is it fungal? I don't know.
Because we were talking.
Pretty sure it is.
This episode is how should running shoes and socks fit and feel. So I feel like let's quickly touch on. Most people probably only have 1, maybe 2 pairs of running shoes. And if you're starting to dabble into like, okay, I'm going to get a pair of socks that fit really nicely, when the time comes that you want to invest in another pair of running shoes, wear those socks, if you can, to the store where you want to try on a whole different range of pairs. And if you have got socks where they are, giving you support in the middle of your foot, they've got cushioning on your toes and your ankles, try on a few different brands of shoe to see what does fit.
Yeah.
The best, because you want a little bit of space in the toe box, you want it to fit nice and snugly. I have some shoes where no matter how I tie the laces, I still feel like my heel's coming out of my shoe, and that makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
how I run.
and I like a little bit of cushioning that runs up the back of my Achilles, because that you do get friction there when you're running, and if that's exaggerated if the heel's not locked in like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then different fabrics I find I don't like socks that feel very slippery. So then when you put your shoes on, you feel like I like the sock that feels like when you put it in, the shoe's kind of locked in place.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like socks made of sandpaper, but they're a little bit rougher and more, and that have specific left-right feet. I do think that makes a big difference, because you want to stop your foot sliding. When your foot's sliding around in the shoe, you're either going to get blisters on the heel, or you're going to slam your toes into the end of the toe box, which is when you get black toenails. And you can get socks that have got like 2 layers of material. The idea being then that instead of the sock or shoe rubbing directly against your skin, the 2 layers of
Polyester or nylon.
whatever man-made
the sock
textile
is made out of.
Also, they rub against each other instead of your skin.
You can also get individual toe socks, or you can get socks where
they seem mad to
your
me.
big toe is separated from your other
too
toes.
much.
I think for most people, maybe that is a little bit too much. However, if you're running somewhere really hot, or if you're running longer distances, kind of trail races, ultras, marathons, whatever, try it. Don't knock it till you tried it.
You can also, I like a pair of running socks that have arch support, like it might be slightly tighter around the arch. And then I generally have ones where they're cushioned around the toes and the heel, but the center, the kind of the arch of my foot has less cushioning.
Yeah.
And then that makes them a little bit more breathable, because you haven't got so much padding.
Lovely walking around the house in running socks. You do feel
new
really
ones it is, yeah.
Oh,
sure.
a new pair of socks. Lovely. Right, anything else on socks and shoes?
Oh, just to say that if anyone else has that heel slippage issue, then if you haven't tried the runner's knot, then give that a go, or butterfly lacing. So there's a rogue lace hole at the top of your shoes that most people don't use, and if you don't use it and you find that your heel slips and you sometimes get blisters there, or the shoe doesn't feel very locked in, then try using the runner's knot. Too hard to explain on here, I think, but we have got a couple of videos on that, and it can really help.
Also, on the thickness issue, worth switching it around for different seasons. So winter socks compared to summer socks.
Yeah.
Adaptation. Great. I've got a corker of a question later, by the way. I'm really excited about the question. But should we do some news first?
Let's do some news.
In breaking news, actually, I've heard that Sarah's placed 3rd in the Miss Running Channel competition today.
3rd?
That's a reference to
That's
your...
purely a reference to the pageantry that you're...
Pageantry.
Yeah, that was a joke, Sarah.
Yeah.
I don't know who you would possibly rank
Happy birthday
in front
again.
of or behind. We're not going to get into that absolute minefield.
Yeah.
I'd be first, wouldn't I?
Hey, behave yourself. You might get a cake later.
Oh. Does that mean you're going to do a full day's work because you'll stick around for the cake?
I've got to, but Chantal's away this week, so I've got to do double drops and double
can we
pickups.
just quickly touch on this, because this is news.
Yes.
Rick this week has to parent his own children. And let's just touch on what you told us
This is harsh.
before
This
the
is
top of
harsh.
the episode.
This is harsh.
So at what time did your lovely wife leave for her trip away? Let's answer the question. At what time did she leave for her lovely trip away?
She left at 4:30.
Yesterday.
Yes.
And at what time did you call your wonderful mother and book her a train to come down to help?
I put her on a Pendolino at 5:30.
So 1 hour of dealing with the children on your own.
1 hour before you phoned your mum. I can't do it.
That wasn't your mum.
There's a reason, because I knew she was coming flying back from Turkey.
From a holiday, and you've gone, right, straight away, Mum, I need you. I've done a full hour with these two
train
terrors.
to London and come and see your grandchildren.
Come and see your grandchildren.
Carol Kelsey en route.
Nice.
Yeah.
So T-minus how many hours before she
Yeah,
gets
so
here?
she'll be here shortly, which is great. It's a nice blend. It's nice to have the grandparents around.
So speaking of other,
Just in case you would dream of doing any actual work.
I did a double drop this morning.
One double drop.
I did double
And then
bedtime
for the
last night.
rest of the week. So for the rest of the week, what's the regime looking like?
Me and Carol Kelsey divide and conquer.
Are you going to make her do a double drop?
No, of course not. We can just
He
split
is,
it up.
isn't he?
He is,
He
100%,
is.
yeah. She's going to be in the hot tub whilst the children get taken to and from school.
News.
Yeah, no, sorry, Mum. I can't. Sorry, I'm going through
So will your lovely mum be looking after the children while Faith Kipyegon is taking on her breaking 4 attempt in France this Friday? So we're recording this on Monday. By the time this publishes on Saturday, she will have attempted, Faith Kipyegon, multiple, I think 3-time Olympic champion over 1500 meters, world record holder. She's trying to run sub 4 minutes for the mile, which is a huge effort this Friday in France.
I love stuff like this because if she does break it, it doesn't count as a kind of official world record, right? Because of all of the different kind of technologies that are at play.
So I haven't read about anything illegal being employed actually. So I don't know for sure that it won't count.
No, maybe it will count. I just love how much technology is being thrown.
I'm assuming that it won't
stack
count.
height of the shoe.
Well, so she's
things
got
like that.
this incredible suit that Nike have designed,
Right.
which it's go and if you can find the video of it, go and have a look at the material itself.
It's got
got like loads of little dots on it. Hasn't
Yes,
it?
so and they're all different heights. Some of them are the size of like a pencil tip, I think, and then they're all different, and they're in different places. They've been in wind tunnels and done it. So it's kind of what I wanted to do back in the day when I did my degree, was aerodynamics. And so the principle here, a golf ball, I guess you think about things always wanting to be made smoother to fly more quickly or go more smoothly through the air. But actually what you need is a textured surface so that the air, as it comes around an object, kind of hangs onto that object. Because it's the like, if you see a boat going through water and you get the messy wake behind the boat, having a messy wake of like dead air behind an object slows it down. So you actually want the air to kind of hang on behind someone's streamline. So that's what the dimples on a golf ball do. And that's what these dimples on her suit do.
Like
is that
in
right?
Sonic the Hedgehog when it has like a big bubble around them when they get their speed boost.
I mean, I don't think it's like that at all.
I don't think it's like that, actually.
I think it's like that.
No. Okay, that's fascinating. Is she wearing one of those, what are the little crowns that keep you cool?
Well, no, she's only running for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So she's not, I think the suit covers her from sort of neck to knee. And then I think there are arm sleeves and potentially a headband as well that have the same sort of aerodynamic tech on it.
I'd like to get into, actually, maybe we do it before we go to Japan, the limits of what athletes are allowed to wear in the World Championships and the Olympics, stack height rules and stuff.
Yeah, because that's the thing I'm not sure about, whether the spikes that she's going to be wearing are illegal, but I have seen that they've got eventually, I think, a full carbon plate, then the foam, then an air pod, and then I think another carbon plate. That's the bit that touches the track. I'm not entirely sure, and they probably haven't released the exact specifications of it.
Regardless, it is going to be an absolutely phenomenal watch. So if you are listening to this on the day that it comes out, this has already happened.
Yes.
So go and take a look at
what's
this
your
record
predictions?
attempt.
Have you thought about it?
I like this. You're predicting the future from the past while the listeners take this in the future.
Yes,
Very
that's Back to the
meta,
Future,
isn't
isn't it?
I
Yeah.
I would love to see this happen.
Yes.
However, I think for people, we're going to hit something here where for the majority of people, this is like when people got asked after the Olympics, do you think you could make it to the Olympics in the 100 metre final?
Yeah.
I feel like this first time round, everyone's going to be incredibly impressed, but not quite as impressed as if the first time round it's like a 4:02. And then the second time round we get a 3:59. So I would absolutely love it to happen, because I think it is not only a phenomenal achievement, it's a phenomenal achievement to do only a few months out from the World Champs as well. But I'm not 100% certain. What about you?
I think it would be one of the singularly most impressive feats in the history of running.
Wow.
If it happened. I can't think of anything that would have been more impressive. I think
So I don't think Andy thinks it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. No, I think that, but that's what I mean. If at this point I'm going to look stupid if it has happened. So what I want is to people to not only think, oh wow, that happened, but think But,
yeah, like
you know,
see the magnitude.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
So what's the current record?
407.6, I think.
It's a lot.
Do you know what?
Well,
Isn't it
407.64,
annoying that
yeah.
humans love round numbers? Like breaking
Yeah.
405.
Yeah.
It is a phenomenal
Yeah.
achievement in itself, but classic
Well, this is what-
human beings.
No, this is why
knock
exactly
7
why I always
seconds
say, when make you target a 2 if you're doing a half marathon or a
off.
5
Should we
past
just
3
ring
or something
Faith
like
up
that.
now and be like, look,
Yeah.
Well,
405, 5 past 4. That's
5
quite
past
nice.
4.
Do you think about the whole world stopped to watch Kipchoge do his sub breaking
Yeah, where
2?
was that? Was that Berlin, Vienna?
Vienna.
Vienna.
And this, if Faith does it, will be twice as hard as him doing that.
Yeah.
In terms of its percentage improvement. So that's why
Yeah.
she would deserve this incredible amount of respect. It's-
Over the last 5 minutes, talking about Faith Kipyegon has had so much wonderful news, and it's really given me an appetite to know more about the story. But the biggest thing I'm going to take away from it is I now know why there are dimples in a golf ball.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I didn't know why they were doing
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
That's
It's all about
pretty good.
boundary layers.
Right then.
Questions.
Today's question comes from Stu Lawrence George from a posh part of Birmingham.
Ooh,
do you
lovely.
do you know who Stu is? Stu, friend of the podcast.
Stu from Lounges.
From Lounges, yeah.
Birmingham.
Is that the same Stu?
Same Stu, yeah.
Hey, Stu.
Yeah. So Stu's a bit angry, so buckle up. Hi, guys. Can you please 3 times do something about how really expensive races aren't even affiliated at the moment? Even the Hackney Half, meaning times aren't official. Running is for everyone, but we all crave PBs. And if you don't even know they are not official times, this could be wounding, says Stu. There needs to be pressure on races over a certain cost become UK affiliated measured courses. Discuss.
So this is a
so
UK
should we just
specific
break down what
thing?
that means, affiliated?
Well, it means it's officially measured, but it also means that the results will count on various sort of ranking systems. So in the UK, that you've got the Power of 10, you've got what used to be called Run Britain, but I think has a different name now. And that's like if you went on your own profile, you'd be able to see. So on my Power of 10, I can see all of my results for my whole career. And where they were run, and you can click through to links
That's
to
cool.
results and things like that. But
Right.
they only recognise official, ratified, affiliated races.
Right.
Where I think you also as a race have to pay, I think, to be affiliated.
Yeah.
So that might be a consideration. I'm not quite sure.
Do you know what's interesting though? Parkrun shows up on there.
Yeah,
It
I think
does,
though because
yeah.
that's so because so many people do parkrun. I think it was an easy way of doing it than because I don't think that effectively says that every parkrun is 100% accurately measured. I could be wrong here, they might be. But rather than them showing up as an official 5K,
Yeah. Oh, it says
then it's parkrun as a category. So
Fine.
you know exactly what it is. You're not kind of trying to turn up to, an elite.
The Olympics.
Yeah,
I would like
yes,
to come
exactly.
to the Olympic qualifiers, please.
But I think we do
Here's my
we do
parkrun
think
reference.
that road races of a certain size or kind of reputation should be officially measured.
But
Do
then
we?
how
Depends on-
many?
probably like Hackney's a good example. Like probably a lot of people there don't.
Well, they're just doing it for fun.
Well, yeah, it's an entry into running for a lot of people.
How
I
many
don't know whether it
people
means
then-
that that's not officially measured though. It might mean that it's officially measured, just not. I don't know how you get it. It would be really interesting to get an email in from someone as to how you get kind of ratified and affiliated as a course, because then we could understand what's involved and whether there might be logistics involved with point-to-point city races or whatever, where it's more complicated. I genuinely don't know.
if I spend, because I mean, I don't know what the average price of, I think of a half marathon. I think it's getting on for £100 now, £100.
Somewhere between like 30 to 100. I think.
Yeah. So, but if you spend £90 to run a half marathon, you'd hope that it was affiliated.
I think
Well,
it depends.
why
though.
would you want, like, if you're not someone who's ever going to look at your own rankings
Yeah.
anywhere and not going to look at those results, then you've got an official result from that marathon. But I get it. I think personally, I would want to run a race that is actually, in fact, we need to check this half marathon I'm going to do because I would want it to appear on my official results to go along with the last 20 years of my official results.
I see what you mean. But so how can you check if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I want to check that my race is affiliated?
It should say on their website, or you can contact the race themselves.
Okay.
I think as well, a big reason why people will want this is if you're submitting that, if you're like trying to get into another race and you need an official time, then you'll need an official ratified So say you wanted to use a half marathon time to get into a marathon, which has qualifying times, you then might not be able to use.
Yeah, it'd be gutted
that
if
time.
you won the Hackney Half and didn't get in. In fact, we know the person who won the Hackney Half. If you won it and you're like,
Look how
I want to
happy
try
he
and
is
get...
at that.
Because you went to the pub, didn't you?
Yeah. But if you then went for to try and get into Chicago and they said no, I won the Hackney Half, I got a £200 Wizz Air voucher.
This would be true, actually. So I think that when I did the Valencia Marathon a few years ago, in order to get into the start wave that I wanted to be in, I had to submit an officially an official result. And I think that perhaps, therefore, only affiliated or like accredited results would count there. So I had to say, I think I had to submit whatever I had. I had to have run a sub, whatever it was, 10K or a sub something half or a sub something marathon. And so I submitted my 10K results from a particular 10K.
And even though it wasn't affiliated?
No, that was affiliated. So that was why I was fine. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what might be the impact on it in the future for somebody if you were using that time to qualify for something else.
Well, it's a good flag to double check.
It's a good flag. It's good to talk about it. Right, before we go, let's talk about the Podcast Awards.
Oh, yes. Right. We are back, as are the Podcast Awards, and we need you. This time last year, we made it into the top
20 for the Listener's Choice Awards. This is the British Podcast Awards, right?
Yeah, top 20. Yeah.
I think wherever you are in the world, you will be able to vote for us in the British Podcast Awards. So just we'll get producer Owen to link it in the show notes.
We're up against some of the biggest podcasts in the world, so we have our work cut out for us. So we need you, the lovely Running Channel podcast listeners, to help us out as much as you can.
So please vote. And unfortunately, we did not name the podcast in a very easy to search way.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is go onto British Podcast Awards, go to the search bar, type in.
Well, this is specifically for the Listener's Choice Award.
The Listener's Choice Award. Type in the Running Channel, and then we should come up.
You need the.
Then another important part, because this is how they get you. After you voted, you then have to go to the email address that you put in when you voted and confirm your vote.
Yeah, to make sure you're a real person and that you can't vote lots and lots. I tried to vote 45 times. Only one of them counted.
I got 2 email addresses though.
No, I've only voted once for us.
That would be lovely if you could do that. We'd really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks for listening or watching and being with us wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.
Bye.